Welcome to Bookpods.
Today, we are doing a deep dive into a really transformative book.
We are. It's Annie Duke's Thinking in Bets, making smarter decisions when you don't have all the facts.
And our mission here is pretty simple. We want to give you a shortcut, really, into the core wisdom of this book.
It's all about changing how you think day to day.
Right, and her approach comes from a pretty unique place. I mean, she has lived through high-stakes decisions where both skill and, pure chance are in play.
And when you say high stakes, you're not kidding. Her background is just so important to understanding this.
It's everything.
Annie Duke isn't just a writer on behavioral science. She's a legend in professional poker.
She's won over $4 million in tournaments.
Things like the WSOP Tournament of Champions, the National Heads-Up Championship. She has lived and breathed making decisions under just immense pressure.
And that experience is really the foundation for the book's main idea, which is honestly a bit disruptive.
It is.
The idea is that the best decision you can make today won't always give you the best outcome tomorrow.
Why?
Because of luck. Or, just the randomness of the world. That plays a huge, unavoidable role in everything.
And that is the central conflict, isn't it? It's so hard for us to accept that.
Yeah, we're wired to want certainty.
We want a clean story. If something good happens, we want to say, I did that. If something bad happens, it's, well, that was to blame.
Exactly. And that need for a simple cause and effect story is what leads us into all these cognitive traps.
So what's the solution she offers?
Well, the key to long-term success isn't trying to get rid of luck, because you can't.
It's impossible.
It's about accepting that uncertainty is just the default setting for reality. So you learn to think in probabilities, to treat every single decision you make,
Big or small.
a career change, or just a tiny investment, as a bet with a calculated chance of success.
Okay, so let's unpack that. Section 1 is all about this shift, right? Moving away from the world of black and white certainty.
And into the world of probabilities. Duke says the big trap is that we think in absolutes. It was a right decision or it was a wrong decision.
And that attachment to being right is just paralyzing.
It really is. Because if you're 100% sure about something and then it fails, your confidence just gets shattered. Your ego is bruised.
Because your whole identity was tied to being correct.
Right. And that pain, that emotional sting, it just shuts down the learning process. Instead of looking at your process, you just, deny what happened or you search for anything to confirm you were right all along.
Which is where thinking in bets comes in. It's a powerful shift.
You have to make peace with being unsure.
So when you think of a decision as a bet, you're forced to look at a whole range of possible futures.
And you have to adjust your confidence level. You might start out thinking, oh, I'm 99% sure this will work.
But the second you have to imagine putting money on it.
Suddenly you realize, maybe I'm more like 70% sure. And that's where the better decision-making starts.
It puts you in the mindset of a strategist.
And the example she uses to show how dangerous it is to ignore this stuff is what's probably the most famous blunder in recent sports history.
Oh, you have to be talking about the 2015 Super Bowl. The Seahawks.
Yep, the Pete Carroll decision.
I remember it so clearly. They're on the 1-yard line, seconds left in the game, and instead of giving the ball to Marshawn Lynch, who was basically a tank,
unstoppable.
They call a pass play, and of course it's intercepted. They lose the Super Bowl.
And the whole world just erupted.
Universal condemnation. Everyone said it was the worst call in history.
And that condemnation is a perfect example of a cognitive error called resulting.
Resulting.
Everyone, the media, the fans, they judge the quality of the decision based only on that one disastrous outcome.
They didn't look at the decision tree, at the probabilities Terrell's team had probably worked out.
Exactly. So if you actually look at that whole outcome tree, the interception was just one possible branch.
And what did the data say about that branch?
Well, based on historical data for similar plays, that interception, it only had about a 2 to 3% chance of happening.
Wow. So a tiny risk of the worst possible thing.
A tiny risk. Now look at the other branches. A touchdown from that pass play was estimated at 37%.
Okay.
And an incomplete pass, which stops the clock and gives you more chances, was about 35%.
So if you add those up, there was a 72% chance of either scoring or stopping the clock to try again.
Right. So focusing only on that tiny 3% chance of failure is, well, it's just not rational. But that's what we do.
Okay, but here's the challenge, right? It's the Super Bowl. Shouldn't a coach just go for the safer run play, even if the pass is a slightly higher expected value?
That's a great question.
I mean, doesn't the huge cost of that 3% failure just override everything else?
It speaks to that tension between what the stats say and our own tolerance for risk. I think Duke would say that leaders have to assess their appetite for those rare catastrophic risks, black swan events.
Mhm.
The run might have felt lower risk, but it also had a lower reward given the time left. Carroll was actually making a positive EV play. If you ran that scenario 100 times, he'd win way more often by passing.
So the media reaction was just a total failure of probabilistic thinking.
A massive one.
Okay, that makes sense of why we need probabilities, but how do we actually do it? How do we calculate if a decision is good before we know what happens?
And that leads us to the big tool that poker players use all the time. Expected value.
EV.
EV is the objective way to stress test a decision, to see if it's a good bet, no matter what your gut feeling is.
It forces you to use numbers.
Right. And the formula is actually pretty straightforward. Expected value equals the likelihood of reward, multiplied by the possible reward.
And the rule for making a good decision is simple. You should only make a move if the EV is greater than your personal cost.
Precisely. And that cost isn't just money. It's your time, your focus, your energy.
The opportunity cost? What else you could be doing?
Yes. Let's use a poker example to make the math really clear.
Lay it on us.
Okay, imagine there's $150 in the pot. Your opponent bets $50, so now the pot is $200.
Got it.
Based on your cards and your read of this situation, you think you have about a 40% chance of winning the hand.
So we do the math. 40% or 0.4 times the $200 reward. That equals $80.
That's it. Your expected value is $80. But,
Yeah.
and this is the important part, you only have to put in $50 to have a shot at it.
Since 80 is more than 50, it's a positive EV decision.
It's an objectively good bet. You have to make that call.
Even if you go on to lose that specific hand.
Absolutely.
Right.
The quality of your decision is separate from the outcome of this one hand. If you made that exact same bet a million times, you'd come out ahead.
That's what matters, confidence in the process over the long run.
Yes.
But applying this to life gets a little messy, doesn't it? The reward isn't always a pile of cash. It might be, joy or career growth. How do you put a number on that?
That's the real trick, and Duke talks about this. When the reward is intangible, you have to use proxies. You have to build a model.
Like what?
So if you're thinking about a career change, the reward isn't just a salary. It might be skill development. So you could assign a score to that, maybe 1 to 100.
You're forcing yourself to quantify it.
Exactly. The hard part is being honest about the likelihood of reward, that percentage. That takes research, talking to people, really thinking about what could go wrong. EV just forces you to turn those vague feelings into actual data points.
And that need for honesty brings us to the next big lesson, which is that you absolutely have to decouple the quality of your decision from the outcome.
Yeah, that EV calculation is totally useless if your own biases are messing with the numbers you put in.
They just derail the whole thing.
They do. And Duke points out 3 big ones that just stop you from learning. The first one we already talked about, resulting.
Judging a decision just by what happened. The stock went up, so I'm a genius. It went down, so I'm an idiot.
Simple as that. The second one is hindsight bias. And this one is so sneaky.
It feels almost automatic.
It is. Hindsight bias is when you look back and believe that what happened was totally inevitable.
You forget that all those other branches on the possibility tree ever existed.
Yeah, your memory just smooths it all over and creates this clean, false story where you knew it all along.
And then the third one, the one that protects our ego, the self-serving bias.
This is the big ego trap. If the outcome is good, we say it's because of our skill, our hard work. It's all me.
But if the outcome is bad?
Oh, then it's external factors. The market was crazy, the weather was bad, my boss is unfair, the other guy got lucky. You shield your process from any real criticism.
This is why she makes that distinction. Life is poker, not chess.
Exactly.
In chess, there's no luck. If you lose, it's because you were outplayed. Period.
But in poker and in life, you can make the absolute perfect, mathematically correct move and still lose to a bad beat.
And the reverse is true. You can make a terrible decision, like buying a stock on a whim and just get lucky and make a ton of money.
And that's so dangerous. Because if you make a bad decision but get a good result, and you don't go back and look at your flawed process,
You just reinforce a bad habit.
yes, you guarantee that you'll fail later on once your luck runs out. You haven't learned a thing.
So what's a practice she recommends to fight this? It's pretty counterintuitive.
It is. It's intense. She says after you get a good result, after a win, a success, that's when you have to force yourself to find at least 2 mistakes you made.
And you have to share them with someone.
You share them with a partner, a friend, someone objective.
That's smart. It's so much easier to admit you messed up when you're already celebrating a win.
Right? It shifts your focus from just celebrating the result to carefully examining the process.
It's a professional's habit.
It is. Think of that story about the poker player, Phil Ivey. He wins this huge tournament, $500,000. And what does he do at dinner?
He doesn't celebrate.
No, he spends the whole time breaking down every hand, looking for any little mistake he might have made. Learning was more important to him than celebrating. That is a process-focused mind. So once we start analyzing ourselves, we need to think about the long term. And the next lesson is simple, but really hard to do. Ignore comparisons.
Right. We waste so much time and energy comparing our journey and our outcomes to other people's.
And their success might just be luck. It could be a random roll of the dice in a volatile world.
Duke's point is that those comparisons are just noise.
They're not productive. You're not betting against your friend or your coworker. You're betting against all the other future versions of yourself that you could have been.
Your focus has to be on your expected value, not what's happening next door.
Exactly. And if we're betting against our future selves, we need to think about them more clearly. This is the next lesson. Mental time travel.
This is where we have to deal with the person we are right now, the one who wants that cookie versus the person we'll be tomorrow.
It's that classic battle. You could call them present self and future self. Present self stays up late, eats junk food.
Night, Jerry.
Right, night Jerry. He doesn't care. But then future self, morning Jerry, wakes up feeling awful and is furious at night Jerry for making those bad choices.
So we have to bring that future self, the one who deals with the consequences, into the room when we're making the decision.
And the tool for that is the 1-0-10-10 rule.
Such a simple, great technique.
It's beautiful. When you're facing a tough decision, you ask 3 questions. How will I feel about this in 10 minutes?
How will I feel about it in 10 months?
And how will I feel about it in 10 years? It forces you to look past that immediate gratification and make choices that have a much better long-term payoff.
And this future focus also means we have to plan ahead, which leads to the idea of working backwards from our goals.
Right. 2 really powerful strategies here. First is backcasting.
Backcasting.
You pick a big positive goal in the future. Let's say financial independence by age 50. Then you work backwards from there to figure out every single step you need to take starting today.
It makes sure what you're doing now is actually aligned with where you want to go.
Exactly. And the second strategy is the one that forces us to face that scary 3% chance of failure. The premortem.
The premortem, I love this one.
It's essential. Before you make a big move, launch a product, take a new job, you get your team together and you assume the worst has already happened. It failed spectacularly.
Then you analyze why. What went wrong?
You figure out the causes of the failure, and just as important, you make a plan for how you would respond. And you do all of that before you even commit to the decision. It removes panic and makes your EV calculation way more accurate.
Okay, but we know how strong our biases are. Doing all this objectively on your own it's almost impossible.
It really is. Which is why Duke's final recommendation is to create a learning pod or a buddy system. You need other people for truth-seeking.
You need those outside eyes.
Because our own conflicts of interest are just too powerful. We'll always want to take credit for the wins and blame luck for the losses. A group keeps you honest.
And for that group to work, she recommends adopting a set of rules, basically, from the scientific community. It's the acronym CU-DOSE.
Right, CU-DOSE. It's 4 norms for finding the truth.
Let's break it down. C is for
communalism. It means the data belongs to the group. You have to be totally transparent. No hiding ugly facts to protect your ego.
U is universalism.
Which means you apply the same standards to everyone, no matter who they are. You don't ignore good data just because you don't like the person who brought it to you.
D is for disinterestedness.
That's about being on guard for those self-serving biases, actively fighting the urge to take all the credit or pass all the blame.
And finally, OS.
Organized skepticism. This is huge. The group should not try to agree too quickly. You have to encourage dissent. You actively explore why an idea might be wrong.
You assign a devil's advocate.
Yes. That structured doubt is what really tests your beliefs and makes sure those percentages you're using are as close to reality as possible.
So if we pull it all together, the core message from Thinking in Bets is a pretty clear roadmap.
It is.
You embrace uncertainty and you quantify it with probabilities. You use expected value to judge your decisions objectively.
And you just have to divorce the quality of that decision from the outcome from luck.
And then you bring your future self into the picture with planning and keep yourself honest with a group.
And the final point she makes, the real imperative, is that none of these tools matter without action.
Right.
You can't calculate EV or run a premortem if you're not actually doing anything. You have to make decisions. You have to test your ideas and create data today.
If you stay frozen by the fear of being wrong, you never learn.
You give up the chance to become a smarter, better decision maker tomorrow.
That's really the bottom line. So here's a final thought for you to take away from this. If every big choice you make really is a bet, think about the biggest decision you're facing this week. That job offer, that investment, that relationship. What percentage of certainty would you honestly assign to it? If you say, I'm 75% sure this will work out, ask yourself this. How would you change your preparation, your research, your whole strategy if you had to bet a serious amount of your own money on that 75% being right? Now go put those probabilities to work.